is fascinating. It is absolutely awesome. You must start doing it. You must start looking at her stuff, and Mark Smith, of course. The fundamental difficulty lies in the nature of textual evidence. Now, here we go. I've had some Christians who simply tell me, well, all you have to do is read the Bible. Oh, no, that's not. Wrong answer. That's far too simplistic. There's no Bible scholars that I'm aware of that says that's the way to do it. Listen to what Mark S. Smith says. Because mythic images and little mythic narrative have been incorporated and refracted through the textual lens of the various genres of literature, these genres offer only a glimpse of the larger understanding. Are you getting this? Furthermore, the texts have been written so much after the fact, or have undergone such long redactional histories, that the situation with the various deities is very difficult to gauge. Nothing simple here. Archaeology and iconography, while central to the enterprise, can alleviate only some of the difficulty. Please get that. Archaeology does not have the final answers, and that is not the only discipline that gives us the understanding of the Bible. It does alleviate some of the difficulties. It solves some of our problems. Those who rely exclusively on archaeology, you're not going to get the whole picture. That's not the only discipline the scholars are using nowadays. So why should we? Both require interpretation. I've said that before. The Bible is not a self-interpreting text. You can't just simply read the Bible and say, oh, okay, now I know what reality is all about. No, sorry, it's not that simple. Archaeology and iconography both require interpretation that is all too often in the face of little or no aid from roughly contemporary textual sources. As a result, it is generally not possible to recover how pre-monarchic Israel fashioned its own narrative about its religious identity. We can't figure it out yet. That is where interpretation comes along. That's why I say no scholar has the final word. You have to read all of the scholarly views, but understand we're all working within a limited parameter. And none of us have the final word. None of us. So this is an interesting situation. Instead, what scholars do is they combine a number of approaches into their syntheses. They heavily rely on the small number of early texts. They add interpretations drawn from the contemporary archaeological or iconographic sources, and they work from later texts that seem, at least to them, to reflect the earlier situation. The work remains highly inferential. In other words, we don't have proof yet. We are inferring information based on the evidence we have that has survived and that we've found. We haven't found it all yet. This shortcoming may be overcome in the future by new discoveries. You see, we aren't done yet. How many times do I have to say that before everyone begins to understand this concept? The scholarship, the archaeology, the discoveries have not been complete. Recent developments have complicated the task. Here we think that the more archaeology is found, the more it proves the ancient Israelite religion in the Bible. That's not what Mark Smith says. He says it's complicating our task. Boy, there's an irony for you. First, newer research has altered long-standing axioms of biblical studies. Do you know what an axiom is? An axiom is a fundamental truth that you begin with and go from there. It's self-evident. You don't need to demonstrate anything about an axiom. It's just there. He is saying the new information is changing the very axioms of biblical understanding. We are in a revolution here, folks. That's what he is saying. Anyway, he goes on. I'm going to skip to page XXVI. He explains several of the issues here. The full impact of literary study, which has all too often been neglected in history of religious research, including my own, he says, has yet to be felt in syntheses of Israelite religion. Well, William G. Dever, 4 years after this second edition came out, is beginning to show us the impact of that God actually was married, and he sired children, and that this was the religion of ancient Israel. So, get ready for some shocks of your lives here, man. Third and related, the study of Israelite history in particular has become more problematic over the last decade. See, so much for progress. Hey, this is Marcus Smith. This is not the backyard professor saying this. It has become more problematic. It hasn't solved the problems and made things easier. Holy cow! We are not done yet. Refined analysis revealed data which do not fit into traditional large-scale syntheses. What we thought we knew about the Bible is being changed, in other words. Refined analysis reveals data which do not fit into the traditional large-scale syntheses. He's not arguing against the Bible. He's not disparaging the Bible. He is trying to come to an understanding of it. But there's serious issues to deal with. He's being realistic and rational. The common models for the origins of Israel in the land, conquest, infiltration, and peasant revolt, have all been inundated by evidence derived from surveys and excavations. Regional variations call into question the viability of a single master thesis to explain the situation on the ground. In other words, there is no one correct approach, and there is no one correct set of data that explains the ancient Old Testament to us, and the ancient Israelite religion. That doesn't even exist yet. We're still trying to find it. The discussions of the Late Bronze Iron 1 and the Iron 1 through the Iron 2 transitions have grown in complexity. It's not becoming easier with the data, it's becoming more difficult. In other words, it's time to turn on our brains and quit pretending like we know what the Bible's all about. Even the biblical scholars don't yet. They're working on it, though. It's an example we can follow and enjoy and reap much fruit from, though. Serious doubts. Now get this. Here's what the new evidence is doing for us. Serious doubts as to the historicity of the biblical descriptions of the United Monarchy have been increasingly voiced by I. Finkelstein and others, and despite strong efforts by archaeologists such as Steger and Dever in the United States and A. Mazar and A. Bentor in Israel, defending the historicity of biblical events purporting to date to the 10th century has become a more difficult proposition.